Father, just thank you for this ability to be able to meet and to the incredible encouragement that brings to us here. But I think just to be able to share thoughts and experiences and everything that we sense God is doing, Lord, and we want to lift your name up tonight. We want to acknowledge that you are the Lord and you have all things in your hand. And so we just ask your blessing again on this nation of Israel, on your people, on this land, on those who are guarding the borders, and pray that you will give wisdom to all in leadership, Lord. And we ask your blessing on Gil and on Leah, the children, Lord, on this little place where we live here, Lord. Thank you for your hand upon it in a special way. And bless Gil now, Lord, as he shares with us some of the things that are on his heart. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. So, last night was something, well, epic, we could say. I mean, the attack was unprecedented. We've had hundreds of different kinds of like missiles and ground missiles and drones and different kinds of technologies from 4 different countries towards Israel. There was from Lebanon and from Syria and from Iran and from Yemen, and all happening at once. It is important to say, because I've been hearing this question, coming up, online in various occasions. People have been asking, well, Israel, about a couple of weeks ago, at the beginning of April, Israel basically killed one of the commanders in the Revolutionary Guards of Iran. It was done not on Iranian land, but in an embassy, kind of like a next door embassy building or something, which might be of contradiction to some of the universal laws. This was basically the response, and I have a few things to say about that. But first of all, that person who was killed a couple of weeks ago. This was a man who was initiating terror attacks against Israel all the time, constantly. This man violated the borders, the international agreements about the borders between Israel and Syria. This man was responsible for many of the rocket launching which came from Hezbollah towards Israel over the last 6 months. So I mean, he was an active terrorist as far as Israel is concerned. The attack was not at an embassy; it was in a building next to an embassy, and that made the attack to be legitimate. Every time when this kind of an attack is being done, it goes through a lot of filters in Israel. It goes through, of course, the Ministry of Security. It goes through judges, and it goes through, of course, Prime Minister and head of the Air Force and head of Mossad, and many filters before such a thing is conducted. And it's an operation which is planned for a long and extended period of time, with a lot of information and intel about that person's responsibility regarding terror activities towards Israel. So in terms of that man who was killed, I mean, as far as Israel is concerned, this was a legitimate attack, and it was anecdotal. It was anecdotal against him and his crew members, who were actually dealing with planning terror attacks against Israel. Last night was not anecdotal towards an individual. It wasn't about an individual. It was about 8 million individuals. It was against a country. It was an attack which was, I must say, I mean, the defense, I mean, from that attack was so miraculous, and this is what I'd like to share tonight also, in terms of how do we see it in scriptures, when we really read about leaving Egypt, about the miracles of Passover, which we're about to celebrate in a week time from now. But how do we see those miracles just coming to life and just taking place in actual reality? I mean, in the same way. It's just that I've been hearing on different channels. I mean, both in Hebrew and in English, people talking about the defense, and yes, of course, the Air Force did a wonderful job, and the cooperation with the allies, the cooperation with Israel's allies such as America and Britain and France and even Jordan, with whom we have peace agreement, quite a cold one usually. But even Jordan participated in defending, yes. I mean, Israel and took down some of the missiles which were basically flying towards Israel above Jordanian ground. So all of that was wonderful. I mean, and God planned it to be wonderful. But let's not forget that He was the one who planned it. Okay, so I'm saying like it's. I mean, it's okay to be impressed by the abilities of the various forces and their abilities to cooperate and to push back such an aggressive attack and so sudden, not sudden because we knew that it was coming, but we didn't know what was coming. I mean, I don't think that anybody was planning to hundreds of them coming at once from four different areas, but the ability to push it all back. I mean, of course, the ability is impressive, but it's all coming from God. So first of all, in terms of the proportionality, because I have been hearing this question, well, all in all, it's proportional. You attacked and now they attack. But I didn't hear that argument about proportionality about what is happening in Gaza, right? I mean, nobody's using that proportionality argument, saying, they attacked and now you attacked and that's all fine, right? And now that's all good. So I mean, we need to be very honest about this. We need to be honest and sincere. Where things come from? Do they really come from in terms of like the questions we have and in terms of thoughts that we're having? Do those thoughts, they come from a sincere place to really get to the bottom of things and understand them, all the way through, or do we really have an agenda while asking the questions? And I think that in most cases there is a not so hidden agenda anymore. I mean, I don't think that agendas are quite hidden this time nowadays. And I just wanted to clarify that. Who was the man who was assassinated? And why this attack was not proportional by all means. I mean, the attack last night was literally a declaration of war. Now, there is a big question now. What is Israel going to do? We don't know. I mean, none of us here. Nobody knows. I mean, we hear different voices from the coalition, from the opposition, from the cabinet, outside the cabinet. We don't quite know what is going to happen. We do know that Israel's allies from last night, they don't want Israel to retaliate. Mm-hmm. Not to respond, so that we don't go to a bigger war during this time. That's more or less where we are in terms of the politics and security and all of that. But I don't think that this group is very much about that alone. I mean, I think that the people on this call, I think we're all on the same page in terms of trying to find God in the process and what is really happening. Mm-hmm. I mean, what is God really doing, or what kind of encouragement can we get from scriptures, from relevant scriptures that we are now reading and just about to celebrate. So I want to share something with you. I'm going to share my screen. I hope you can all see it okay.
I have a few questions. Maybe
do you want to do the questions first?
Well, they're just little things that have sort of come up in conversations with people asking me, and like one of the things is about you remember right back at the beginning, 6 months ago or more, and the big thing was seeing the unity that happened in the country, and all how all of the demonstrations that have been going on, and then there was this wonderful unity. And I mean, I guess the question is, despite what we see in the media, is the unity holding?
It is holding. It is definitely holding. And I really want to say that what we see on the media, I mean, they present what they want to present. The media is always with an agenda. In Israel, outside of Israel, there is always an agenda. And as we said, it's not such a hidden one. Now, there are groups, but these groups are groups of minorities in Israel. They do not represent the vast majority in the country. And it doesn't matter if it's left or right. Most people in the country really believe that this is the time to stand united.
Yes.
That it's not the time to go for elections. It's not the time to go on riots on the streets or protest for a deal or against a deal or anything like that. It's time to show strength. And our strength comes from our unity. And that's the vast majority of people. I mean, and the evidence for that is that before this war started, before October the 7th, we saw hundreds of thousands of people on the streets, okay, going on the streets, protesting against the government. Both from there were people protesting against the government, and there were people protesting for the government, okay, and telling, like encouraging the government, keep going. And it doesn't matter what our opinion is about whatever it is which was happening back there, all those months ago. That's not really the point. The point is that right now most people in Israel see the importance of our unity. I spoke to a friend of mine. A friend of mine came to visit last night, and he was in reserve forces. He was there 3.5 months. He's 45, has 5 children, busy in his daily career in high tech, but then he wasn't obligated to go and serve, and he decided to go and join the reserve forces. Of course, he asked his wife. His wife said yes, and he went for 3.5 months. He wasn't home 3.5 months, and they were doing all sorts of assignments in Judea and Samaria. And I asked him, what was it like, to be all those people, all those men together, people that just 6 months ago were protesting from different sides of the fence, and he said he said nobody even thought of bringing all these things up. He said, like, once you wear the olive color, right? Once you go on uniform, basically, and we're all the same, and this is the common ground, and we know what is the common ground between us. It's not even an issue. He said, not even at nighttime when you sit like two people who don't know each other, safeguarding part of the border. It's not even something you bring up because it's all about coming together. And he said this is the spirit in the battlefield, and this is also the spirit at home with their families. Now, there are still people who insist on focusing on the differences, who insist to go publicly against the government. And I'm not saying that it's not legitimate to go against anybody. I mean, if you have your opinion, you're eligible. You have full right to express it. The question is, how do we express it? Question is, me expressing my opinion, does it give power? Does it make my enemies stronger? And in this case, I'm afraid to say that yes, that our enemies get stronger when they see these protests. And I think that it's inevitable. It's not for no reason that God organized this attack last night, so that we will be shaken up and wake up and not forget what kind of road, what kind of journey we've been on over the last 6 months. And we can really see how God is directing the whole thing, and how we need these awakening calls. It's sad to say, but we need them. And God, with His mercy, He's allowing it to happen, still protecting, and still working in a very miraculous way. So despite what they present on the media, which really makes headlines, there is more unity, and there are more people who oppose demonstrations and rallies on the streets right now than people who want to do that.
Right. Just another couple of things. The whole thing about the hostages, which, if you come here and you're in Israel, you realize it's very much on people's hearts still. You see it everywhere. You see pictures, posters. signs, that bring them home, bring them home, bring them home. Now, the one I really love is "Together We Will Win," and I just that's the one that sort of speaks to me. But do you think hope is dwindling, that the hostages are even still alive?
We have to believe that they're alive.
Yes.
I mean, we have to believe it. There is no other option. I mean, we have to believe that they're alive, and we have to strive and to work as hard as we can to get to them and to bring them home as quickly as possible and as safely as possible. It is the country's responsibility. It is the nation's responsibility. It is the people's responsibility. We're all one. If they are held captive in Gaza, then part of me is held captive in Gaza. It is not we. It's not like someone can say, I don't know any of them, all those 133 people. I don't know any of them. Not really my business. But that's really not it. I mean, and let's not be mistaken. I mean, most of the people who are there, they come from an living area in Israel, which has a very clear agenda in terms of how this country should look like or anything like that. Most of the soldiers fighting are coming from a different perspective, different approach of what this country should be like. But nobody is thinking, they're not really my cup of tea. They're not really coming. They're not my circle. So I'm not going to devote my life for the cause. Nobody is even thinking about that. We're all one. It's one organism. So clearly that is on all of our hearts, definitely.
Yeah.
And we have the responsibility of bringing them back. The question is, how do we bring them back? Do we try to do it militarily? Or are we going to try and sign a deal with the devil? And I'm not saying that this way or this way is actually the right way or the wrong way, but I'm just saying that there is a very strong. It's one of the nation's biggest dilemmas over the last 75 years of existence.
Yes.
It's very, very difficult to decide, and that's why I'm saying going on the streets and protesting and making banners and making it look like the people on the other side, they don't care about the hostages. That's wrong. It's really wrong, and it's even mean to do that. I mean, of course, we all feel for the hostages. Everybody feels for the hostages. There is not one single person who does it,
right.
And it's just a matter of how, but not really the what. I mean, on the what, the fact that they have to be back. I mean, we're all on the same page regarding that.
Right.
Any other questions?
No, I think rather hear from them.
Well, I just want to share something. So we're gonna go to Exodus 15. Okay, let's all open the Bibles in Exodus 15, and let's read something about the enemy. Okay. So Exodus 15, as we all know, we're not going to read from the Hebrew. Don't worry. We are going to read it from English, but I do need to show you something in the Hebrew form of this scripture, okay? Because I mean, it cannot be the message cannot be conveyed as long as we only work with the translation. So Ruth will be reading in English, and I'm going to present the words in Hebrew on the screen, okay? So that just so we can see something and then connect it to something else. This chapter was said after the split of the Red Sea, after the sea, closed on the Egyptians, the Egyptians drowned. This is basically this is the grand finale of the Exodus, okay, of leaving Egypt, being delivered. There is much to be said. There is a lot that we can say about coming out of Egypt. What does freedom really mean? Freedom versus liberty. What does it mean when Moses goes to Pharaoh and he says, "Let my people go"? Right? I mean, let them go. Why not free my people? Why not send my people? Why not anything else? But why let them go? I mean, what messages stand behind that? There is a lot to be said about the 10 plagues, and a lot to be said about the finger of God versus the hand of the Lord. There are all sorts of things in Exodus. It's enormous. It's enormous. And every year when we sit around the table on the evening of the night of the Seder, as we call it, the arrangement of Pesach evening, the most important thing around the table are the children. And to tell them the story and to make them feel part of the story, to make them understand that they are the story. The story is happening now. It is not something that happened in the past. And explaining all these things, around the table. And every year we have to choose what we're going to be focusing on. I want us to read from chapter 15, just a little thing that I think that can really shed some light in terms of what we are experiencing, what we are seeing right now in the world. So I would like us to read, well, I basically need verse 9 in chapter 15, but if you want to read something else.
Okay. So from verse 9, the enemy said, I will pursue, I will overtake, I will divide the spoil. My desire shall be satisfied in them. I will draw my sword, my hand shall destroy them.
Okay, good. Okay, so who is saying these things?
The enemy.
The enemy. Okay, so we're looking at the enemy. I'll try to make the screen. Okay, so this is where we are. This is verse 9 in the Hebrew text.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, what can you tell me about the first 5 words? And you can all basically say, look at the Hebrew text and try and tell me, what do you see about, what is it about the first 5 words?
First 5 or the first 4?
Yes, the first 5 words. First 5 words. Look at them
yes,
visually.
okay.
Sorry?
There are 4.
4 what?
4 alephs.
Well, 5,
they
right?
They all start with aleph.
Right. Okay. So this is the first word. Okay. In verse, this means that he said. Okay, and it starts with this letter, which is the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet. That's the letter aleph.
Mm.
We have this. This is the second letter in the verse.
Oh, yeah.
This is the second word in the verse. Okay, also beginning with an aleph. And this word is the word oyev, meaning enemy or adversary. Okay, so amar oyev, the enemy said. This is the third word in the verse. Okay, also beginning with the same letter. Okay, the same letter aleph. This is the word erdof, meaning I will chase. I will chase. This is the fourth word in the verse. The word asig, also starting with the same aleph. Asig means I will achieve, or I will get a hold on, and I will catch, maybe. Yeah. Okay, and this one is the 5th letter in the verse, also starting with the same aleph, as you can see. And this word is achalek, which is I will divide. Okay, I will divide the, what is it, the word there?
Well, it doesn't actually say it, so
it's the spoil.
Yes.
Okay, I will divide. I will.
Yes, I will divide the spoil.
I will divide the spoil. Okay, so we have a unique case, the only case where you have 5 words, consecutive 5 words. Okay, you can ignore all the little things in brackets and stuff like that. It's besides the point. But you have it's a unique case in which we have 5 words consecutively, all starting with the same letter. Amar, oyev, erdof, asig, achalek. Okay, 5 words beginning with the same letter. Now, I just want to say, I mean, those of you who haven't studied with us, maybe you should do so. But apart from that, we need to remember that the Word of God is not anything random. Everything is right where it needs to be. Everything is with purpose. Every little tag, every little thing is right where it belongs, right where it needs to be, and all together it forms the perfection of the Word of God. And this is how we must look at it. Nothing is unnecessary. Nothing is redundant. Nothing is it's just the way people say it. This is God speaking. I mean, this is God narrating. This is God paraphrasing things which happened, and He's putting it into a mold, into a template that we can all connect with, and not just that we can, but we must connect with. We must connect with it because this is the only way to get to know Him as a maker. okay, as a creator, as a father, as a judge, as a merciful king. I mean, everything. This is the only way to do that. Now, if we really want to take God seriously, okay, if we really take him seriously, then we have to go all the way with it. Yes. Sorry?
Put it back so they can see you when you're talking.
No, but I need them to see the screen.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
okay.
But thank you for the tip. In any case, but they can see us here. So it's important that we see it like that. Okay, and that's why I'm saying that it's not for no reason. I mean, this is how we study the scriptures. I mean, not only looking for the meanings of the words. I mean, we do definitely do that, but we also look at the words and the shape of the words. Sometimes we might even take a verse and we might even count the words, and we might see some symmetry, inside the verse. 4 words dealing with that and 4 words dealing with that, and it's kind of like there is also a graphic form to the word of God.
Of course, we totally miss in translation.
We can't do that in translation. Yeah. In translation, you can't, because one word in Hebrew is sometimes 4 words in English, yes. Or 4 words, 3 words in English. I mean, this is you see. I mean, this word here, I mean, is 3 words in English. I will chase. Yeah. Okay, and this one, I will capture. And I will divide. Okay, these are like 9 words already, but it's only 3 words in Hebrew, in the Hebrew text. So we have 5 words altogether, all starting with the same letter, which is unique. It doesn't happen anywhere else, okay, in scriptures, in the entire Bible. Okay, this is the only case where we find 5 consecutive words starting with an aleph. Okay, now to us, I did it. Now, to us, that this means something. I mean, all the bulbs, they get turned on, and we're kind of like ding, ding, ding. Okay, what is really going on? What is God wanting to signal to us? What is this verse talking about? This verse is talking about the intentions of the enemy.
Yes, I.
Okay, it's about the intention of the enemy. It's about the enemy. And the enemy that's quite of that's something that we all deal with, the question about the enemy, the entity called the enemy, the adversary, the enemy of God, the enemy of the people, private enemies that we feel, spiritual enemies, physical enemies, all sorts of enemies that we get to meet in the course of our life here. And this one is this is a quote from God, telling us about the intention of the enemy, any enemy, because it doesn't say that the enemy says. It says enemy says, enemy says, or enemy said, I will chase and I will get and I will divide, and okay. This is what enemy says.
Yes.
Okay, and because it's without any definite article, we understand that it's actually the enemy that we're all facing. Okay. So this is about the intention of an enemy. So how do we fight against the enemy? What do you think?
Well, in what context are we talking about? In
any context.
Spiritual context.
In any context. How do we fight the enemy or an enemy? How do we fight?
Well, we have to declare who we know has already won. I mean, I'm just really taking it on a more of a spiritual level. To know that we are strong because God is the one who's fighting our battle for us. We have to know who we are. That's an important one.
In order to know how to respond.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, this is. I mean, the fact that we cannot fight any battle against anything, let alone the enemy. We must have God, as part of the battle. I mean, we can't do it ourselves. It's not about my I don't know how do you quote that in English, but my own strength and my own.
Yeah.
It's not about me. It's about what God wants me to do. It's about God using us as pawns, as vessels in His hands, so that we can finally overcome the enemy. And if we see ourselves as God's allies, okay, that God's allies who really care about this banner waving in the world with God's name on it, then we have to know that God is partnering with us on this, because I mean, He created this world and gave us an opportunity to partner with Him with anything. Okay, we've just read it in the weekly portion. We don't have to go into it, but this partnership is very, very central between God and us. So He has His share and we have our share as well, and we have to do it together. And sometimes He's using us for these purposes. He can do it Himself. He can make everything, go away. But what will we learn in the process? The answer is nothing, and that's why we are being forced into corners where we really have to fight. So we know that we have to fight against the enemy. Interestingly enough, let's please go to Genesis 1. Okay, so we're going to go to Genesis 1. Okay, that's very easy to flip through all the way to Genesis 1. It's not complicated. Okay, so Genesis 1, let's please read about the first day. Okay, the creation of the first day, starting from verse 3. Okay, so we're going to read verses 3, 4, and 5.
Then God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. And God saw the light, that it was good. And God divided the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness He called night. So the evening and the morning were the first day.
Okay. Now let's just keep track with what Ruth had been reading. So, and God said, "Let there be light."
Oh.
Okay, look at the word light. Just picture. I mean, just see. Take a picture of it in your in your brains. Look at the word or, which means light, and please let's count how many times this word appears in creation of first day. Okay, so we have or. That's number 1. Vayehi or, let there be light. That's the second. And God saw light. Okay, this is ha-or, right? It's ha-or, it's the light. Yes, He saw the light, that it was good. Okay, but here is the word or. And God separated between light and darkness. That's already 4 times. Right. And then finally, God called light day. Okay, so altogether, 5 times the word light. What letter is the first letter in the word light? Aleph. Surprise, surprise, the letter Aleph. So we had in Exodus 15, we had 5 times, 5 consecutive words, all starting with the letter Aleph, dealing with the enemy and the ways of the enemy and what the enemy really, really wants. Right from the start in creation, we have 5 times the word light in the creation of the first day, all of course starting with the same letter Aleph. We have 5 times Aleph versus 5 times Aleph. And the answer, I mean, as you said before, we cannot win darkness without light. You cannot banish the darkness with sticks and stones. Yeah. You can't.
Light is the answer.
Light is the answer. Light is the only answer against darkness. And I was listening to Douglas Murray last night. I was listening. He gave an interview in one of the Israeli media channels.
Yes.
And he spoke. I mean, just one little soundbite from the interview really caught my ear when he spoke about the. He said it's so amazing that the soldiers. I mean, those young men and women, those young men and women who belong to a generation which we all thought is a rubbish generation. They only sit in front with their phones, and they're so like shallow, and they want everything right here and right now and immediately, and they don't really know how to build a process. And they taught us differently. I mean, this generation is still saving this country.
Yes.
I mean, and they're amazing. And he said, this generation which we as older people, we have a tendency to kind of like look down at them. they thank you, Ruth. This is not disturbing at all.
No, can't get it off.
Okay, so the so okay, hold on, we're gonna stop.
Trying.
Okay, good. So so he was referring to this generation, those men and those soldiers, men and women, and he said it's so beautiful to see that all they come with to the battlefield is love. And he said, like, it's so amazing to see soldiers. You know, usually commanders, they kind of like they speak to their soldiers, and they try to put this motivation inside of them, but it's kind of very vulgar and like, let's. But he said those soldiers, men and women, they come with love. They think about the love for the people back home. They think for the love for the hostages, for the families of them. The love for. I mean, they always come with so much positivity to the battlefield, and I really liked that. I liked hearing him saying that. I mean, we know it, we see it, we raised this generation to be this way, but it was very heartwarming to see him acknowledging that, and it really connects, I think, with this picture that we have here in the scriptures. Exodus 15 and Genesis 1. Right from the start, God is saying to us 5 times Aleph, 5 times light. This is your answer to fight against any plan that the enemy might have. So it's kind of it's too similar. Those 5 times Aleph in creation of first day, and 5 times Aleph when we talk about the plans of the enemy in Exodus 15. And it's like God is saying to us, focus on the light.
Yes.
Focus on the light. Do good. Be good.
So it's like pushing back the darkness.
Push back the darkness.
The light,
Yes. You can't break the darkness with sticks and stones. You have to demonstrate, radiate light. Be the light that I've created you to be. I mean, God is the infinite source of light that we have in this life. Yes. And this is very much Pesach. This is Passover. I mean, we went to Egypt. We went to the lowest, the bottom of the bottom in Egypt. Okay, the worst, really. I mean, a nation of slaves for hundreds of years, a nation which has lost its identity entirely almost. But right at the end, just before the final moment, we saw this incredible amount of light pushing into the darkness, pulling us out against all odds. This huge amount of protection and love and this news that came to the world when God had done that, and so much that the world had to learn when He did so much that the Amalekites couldn't stand it and came to fight against it from the other end of the wilderness. Everybody knew about it, and God is doing things through His people. And I just want to say that last night was miraculous here. It was miraculous. It's against all logical statistics that such protection will be able to be given. And this is not about the Air Force. It's not about our allies, as talented and gifted and rich as they may be. It's about God doing this. We talk about the Iron Dome, right? The Iron Dome, but in actual fact, the word for a dome in Hebrew is the word kippah, which is this thing we put on our heads to acknowledge His presence in our life. And this is the Iron Dome. It's about our faith. It's about Him partnering with us. And I think this is a beautiful message to enter into this last week before Passover. And so next week on Monday night, this will be a night of salvation. It's a night of deliverance. It's a night of redemption, private and collective and global and universal and national. And it's all coming together because in the end, we are all being redeemed together. It's Mashiach is coming for all of us. and we really we see that nowadays, and I want to thank anybody who has been praying last night. I know that many of you did that, and I want to thank you. And I also want to just add that this morning, a journalist who is not a religious, he's not observant or anything like that, but he posted this morning that between 1 a.m. and 6 a.m. In Israel last night, the most popular word of search, on Google, Google search, was the word the Psalms.
Yes.
People were looking up, the Psalms. Even people who are not used to praying, they're not used to holding prayer. They're not used to that. But the number one, the top word of search on Google last night in Israel between 1:30 and 6:30 was Psalms. People wanted to pray. So, and I think that means something. And I want you to know that, and I want them to know that you've been praying, and Mashiach come. That's what we have to say, tonight.
And it's that whole thing too about being the light to the nations, and that sort of fits in here with what you're saying, because if we push back the darkness with the light, then that's really going to be shining that light to the whole world.
And I think I think many nations need that prayer. I mean, I think many nations need anybody, like, to pray for them as well, to do the right thing. And I'm not saying it because I'm Israeli, because I'm Jewish, it's because I read the Bible, and we read any chapter, you name it. Okay, I mean, it comes to my mind right now Isaiah 60, but it's all over the place. We all know that there is a plan. There is a plan, and God and the nations are part of that plan. And kings will minister to you. They will bring you on wings of, like, they will bring you on ships and on boats, and they will breastfeed you, and there is a big essential central role for the nations in this. And that's another thing to be praying for, that the world, nations, would be awakened for that calling as well.
To do the right thing.
To do the right thing.
Yes. Wow.
And the right thing is to do God's will. That's the right thing. There is nothing else.
So the eyes will be open to see what the right thing is.
Yes.
To know it.
Yeah.
Wow. It's amazing. So when you were talking with your friend who's been in the reserves for 3.5 months, did you ask him to tell you any stories of some of the things that he's seen or heard?
Well, there are a lot of. I mean, 3.5 months in reserves.
Yeah,
I mean, you see a lot and you hear a lot. But he mainly focused. I really wanted to hear from him about the relationship between people. I mean, because 6 months ago, relationships. I mean, we needed a lot of healing in our society, and I really wanted to hear from him firsthand. Did he feel that healing? I mean, did he sense something like that? And he said, "Oh yeah, I mean, all the way. It was this sense of unity and everybody looking after one another, like older or younger, and it doesn't matter where you're from and where you live in regular life and what you do, and none of that. I mean, everybody's equal, fighting for the same cause." He said it was very inspiring.
That's amazing.
Yeah, very much so.
And he's the father of 5. So how are children doing? How are your children doing?
My children are doing okay. Well, they're. I mean, I'm not going on reserves, so it's not. That's not. I mean, it's not something that they are dealing with.
Yes.
They are dealing with, with what we are seeing, happening around us, and of course they see it, they hear it. We don't have a television set at home, but we do talk about the news, and it's important for us to fill them in so that they do. We filter the news for them. And of course they hear it from their friends and all. It's not all the time easy. I mean, especially the girls, especially for the girls. especially in light of the severe violence against women that has taken place on October the 7th.
Yes.
So for young girls, I mean, for young women like our daughter is 14, just now learning, her femininity and learning, like getting to know herself and connecting with that side of hers, and thinking that anybody can hurt her just because she is a woman, or and hurt her in such way, it really bothers her. It really bothers her, but we're dealing with it, and there's a lot of healing and therapy, and so whatever we can do, it finds you in many layers of everyday reality. And it has been like that for the last 6 months now. So yes, but with a lot of faith and moving on, and looking forward for next week on Passover to celebrate freedom, celebrate redemption, celebrate the liberty to choose Him. It's all those wonderful things that really shapes your identity. So happy Passover to everyone, and have a meaningful one.
Thank you so much, Gil.
Thank you.
Really thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much, guys. Good night.
Good night. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good night. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Adorable. Thank you, Ruth.
Thank you very much.
Thank you from Canada.
Night, Gil.
Bless you guys.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye. Passover.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
He's got
Bye, Pat. Bye, Robin. Blessing. Thank you. Bye, Martha.
Bye. Okay, I'm gonna push the button now. Bye.
Bye.